How many hours does your finance team spend manually checking which invoices have been paid? For one supplement company doing over 12 million euros in annual revenue, the answer was too many. Every morning, someone had to log on to their e commerce backend, cross reference orders, update spreadsheets, and hope that nothing slipped through the cracks. Today, I'm going to show you the system I built to eliminate this entirely, syncing their entire invoice pipeline automatically every single day. Hi, I'm Abby here, your AI automation specialist that helps you generate more revenue and save costs while improving efficiency in your business. So, I help businesses do all that and more. And this video is part of a series where I would break down some real client projects running in production right now. So, the client in question for this particular project is a B2B supplement company. The client had an e commerce backend, but they were drowning in manual invoice management. So by the end of this video, you would see exactly how I built a system that automatically pulls all their unpaid orders from that e commerce backend, stores it in a clean, organized database, detects when payment comes in without any manual checking, and then keeps everything in sync every single day. Let's go. So let me paint a picture of what they were dealing with. This company sells supplements B2B to gyms, fitness studios, retailers. They were not just dealing with individual consumers here. They were dealing with businesses ordering on accounts with different payment terms. So every day they had orders coming in that needed to be tracked. Then they had existing invoices that might and might not have been paid, and there was no single source of truth for what was outstanding. So every day, the finance team would log on to the system, they would export data, they would open their spreadsheets, and then start comparing, they'll start cross referencing data to their own records, and then they were manually updating the status. So that was what was happening every single day. And that would cost them, let's say, a minimum of 2 to 3 hours per week. Imagine how tasking. The problem with this approach is that it's time consuming because they needed to spend hours every week on manual entry. Then it was error prone. It was easy for them to miss a payment or double count. And then there was no visibility for management. Management couldn't get a quick snapshot of what was happening, the receivables and all. And then there was also delayed follow up, which we all know how that can be. If an invoice slips through, they might not be able to chase it for weeks. As you can imagine, they were very frustrated and it was causing them a lot of hassle to keep up with the checks. So here is what I built for them. Two workflows that work together. So the first is a daily sync. Every morning at 6 a.m., this workflow wakes up and then logs into their e-commerce backend, pulls all unpaid orders, and then syncs them to an Airtable database. Then the second workflow runs right after. And what it does is that it compares what they have in the database, in the Airtable database, against what is still showing as unpaid in their e commerce backend. So if an invoice is in their database but is no longer in the unpaid list, that means it has been paid. So the system automatically marks it as paid. So there's no need to manually check again, and there's no need to cross reference. It just happens. So let me show you how it looks on N10. So this is the first workflow, and this fires at 6 a.m. every day. And we run it right before the business day starts so that the data is fresh when the team arrives. Then we get the unpaid orders. So we call the backend, the endpoint of the e commerce site with specific filters. We're looking for orders that have been shipped but are awaiting payments were created in the last 120 days. So this gives us every outstanding invoice in one API call. then what we get is actually very complex when it comes to the data. There are nested objects, there are arrays. So, but this code node flattens everything to a very clean structure. So we're looking at the invoice number, we're looking at the order ID, the invoice date, the amount, and the customer ID. Then something you would notice is that there is no customer name, no email address, no address, nothing like that, because that's important for the GDPR compliance. So we only store the minimum data needed for tracking. Then we check if that invoice already exists in the Airtable because we don't want duplicates as well. So if it doesn't exist, then we create it with the status open. If it already exists, we skip it. And here is the result: a clean Airtable interface with every unpaid invoice. Here is the clever part. The problem with just syncing new orders is that how do you know when something gets paid? Their e-commerce backend does not send a webhook saying, oh, this invoice just got paid. You'd have to check. So that's what this workflow does. So here it gets everything that is marked as open from the Airtable database. And then it gets all the current unpaid orders from the e-commerce site. It's using the same API call. It's trying to get what is currently unpaid. Then what it does next is that there's a code node. This code node compares the two lists to see if there is an invoice in the Airtable that is still showing unpaid, but on the e-commerce platform, it has now been paid. Once it has been paid, it automatically updates the database that the status of this invoice is now paid. And it does not need any human intervention to do that. No checking bank statements against spreadsheets. The system handles it. So, what did this actually achieve for the client? Before now, they spend 2 to 3 hours per week on manual invoice checking. Sometimes the payments get missed for days. Then there is no real visibility into outstanding receivables. And then this leads to the finance team being frustrated with the repetitive work. But now, what do they have? Zero time spent on manual tracking. And then within 24 hours, payments are detected. Then they have a clean dashboard that is showing exactly what is outstanding. And it's definitely totally automated. And then the finance team is freed up for higher level or higher value work, which is what everyone needs. Now, because everything is on Airtable, they can build views, filters, reports, however they want. And they can sort by amount. You remember the interface that I shared the other time? They're able to see everything that is overdue just at a click. So this is the foundation for everything else that we build. And I'll be sharing those other things in coming weeks as we go. If you're running a B2B business and you're still manually tracking invoices, you don't have to. This exact system or something customized for your tech stack can be built for your business. If you want to explore what is possible for your business, book a discovery call with the link in the description. And if you found this useful, subscribe. I'll be breaking down more client projects as we go into the year, showing you exactly how enterprise automation gets built. See you in the next one.